Welcome to Sweden News. My name's Carl Farah.
And I'm Gemma Rowley. On today's program, we speak to fashion editor Janice Breen Burns about her involvement within the fashion industry and how fashion journalism has changed over the years.
We also take a look at the growing popularity in Melbourne's board gaming scene.
But first, the issue of Instagram contributing to Australia's food waste problem. The growth of Melbourne food bloggers suggests young people are overly concerned with the presentation of their food. It is this current obsession with posting food on Instagram that directly affects Australia's increase of food waste. This issue isn't going unnoticed. The federal government is implementing a national food waste strategy November this year to reduce 50% of Australia's food waste by 2030. Finding a balance between reducing food waste and adapting to social media demands is proving to have its difficulties. Brianna Tirrant reports.
Brunch is a word which currently has over 14 million hashtags on Instagram, creating a food photography frenzy amongst millennials. For Instagram food bloggers like Ashley Brown, presentation is key to growing her following. While Ashley's food blogging business continues to boom, she recognises the element of waste due to the number of meals she receives.
Sometimes I'll have me and my brother, for instance, I'll bring out 5 dishes. And we can't eat all that. But we don't like to leave food on the plate, so we generally can overeat and feel sick afterwards. Or we'll ask to take it home. In terms of when people see what Instagram is post, they go out and they'll order one dish and hopefully they can eat it all. I don't think it's a matter of people over-ordering because of it or anything like that.
Food bloggers alone are not the only culprits, with 18 to 24-year-olds wasting the most food, according to a study by the Australia Institute. This cafe owner believes her millennial customers over-order in a bid to show off on Instagram.
I just find we have young people buying the food, they'll eat half of it but leave the other half because they're too full. They order up big because they want to try a few dishes. I think we eat with our eyes, number one, and all the media. Social media out there, people are posting everything and it looks amazing, so it's putting pressure on other places to step up.
Many Melbourne cafes, just like this one, understand the impact social media has on their business and realise consumers want their food looking impeccable.
If we have a lot of likes on Instagram, we do take it into consideration and we keep that menu item and follow it over to the following season. Everything's got to look good as well as taste amazing. 3 years ago, it really wasn't in. Like, you didn't put flowers and microherbs. Now everything's done with flowers and microherbs, so it looks amazing.
When I come in, I always ask the waiter or the owners what looks the best and what's going to photograph really well on the page.
The food waste issue doesn't stop at young people eating out.
The average Victorian household wastes up to $2,000 worth of food each year, according to Sustainability Victoria. That's equivalent to throwing away $50 each week.
The impacts of food waste is that food that's being produced to be eaten is being thrown away. So that's edible food that could feed hungry people. At the same time, all that waste takes resources to produce, so that's land, water, fertilisers, that kind of thing, energy, greenhouse gas emissions. They're also generated in the disposal when it goes to landfill.
One organisation, Food Bank, is helping reduce the impacts of food waste.
A third of all food produced is wasted, not only in Australia but in the world. So in terms of the social impact, environmental impact, I think it's huge. And I think it comes down to consumerism, wanting that perfect produce.
Food Bank Victoria alone rescues and redistributes 22,000 kilos of food every day for people in need.
So an overall impact each year is over 9 million kilos rescued from landfill. And in terms of scale, have a look, this is where it is.
These economic, social and environmental impacts of food waste involve every single Australian.
I have a saying, the bin is your enemy. So we try not to waste anything. We cook as we go, so that way there is no wastage. So we make sure we cook for that day, we cook as we need it.
One government strategy idea is for restaurants and cafes to assess their food waste practices and reduce the amount of food they send to landfill. Experts are urging Instagram users to never leave food uneaten, just for a photo.
The most important thing is to always consume what you're purchasing, and also the most important thing is recycle, recycle, recycle.
Population is going to get larger, and if we continue to waste the same amount per person, then overall we're going to be wasting a whole lot more. and we're going to require a whole lot more resources to produce that wasted food. So in that sense, it could potentially get worse unless we seriously change our consumption habits.
Brenna Tarrant, Swin News.
Wow, that really makes me rethink my avocado smash purchases.
Well, on the topic of Instagram, Janice Breen Burns also expressed her concerns for fashion bloggers using the app as a platform for their work, leading to a lack of professionalism in their writing. I was lucky enough to recently speak to Janice about all things fashion and how she started her career.
I started at a small fashion newspaper called Rag Trader, which is still going today. But I didn't want to be plugged in there, so I went for a job at a regional newspaper in Geelong and subsequently dropped out of my journalism course and got the job as women's editor, it was in those days. I did enjoy fashion a lot then, but there was a lot more opportunities in the other subject matter that I was doing. You know, the lifestyle issues and the human stories and that sort of thing. So it was really just a practical thing because I was headhunted as a fashion editor and a features writer. If there was any kind of hierarchy of news and the news mix had to be compromised because the print issue shrank as happened, then fashion would be the first thing to be turfed off the bottom of the list. So you quite often write things and they wouldn't be published. I imagined Foxfrock when I left The Age would be exactly that, my platform where I could produce the kind of fashion news mix that I used to produce when I literally had 5 broadsheet pages a week. We've got a lot of fashion writers, but they're actually, because there are so many of them, so enthusiastic and so passionate about their own little corner of fashion and their own interpretations of fashion, and they're quite popular in getting it out there on social media, and that is the new fashion journalism, but they're not writing it well, they're not expressing themselves well, and that's something that I'd like to change through Foxfrock, and that's what we're doing now in these mentorship programs and masterclasses and things like that. But I think there's a real danger because there is so much, there is so much of the written word on social media that it is actually dragging down the quality of English expression and English and journalism basically.
And finally, while Melbourne is well known for their love of coffee and sport, it is also home to one of the world's largest communities of tabletop and board game players. But what made Melbourne the place for gaming, and why is it growing in popularity? Reporter Jared Bourbon explores the Melbourne gaming community to find out what exactly makes this city a gamer's dream.
I got my 12-sided die and I'm ready to roll with the wizard and my goblin crew. My friends are coming.
Melbourne could be named the board game capital of the world, with more hobby stores than almost any other city. Lucas Hipkins runs one such store, Mind Games, on Glenferrie Road in Hawthorn, a bustling shopping strip.
Mind Games Hawthorn, this has been here for 19 years. August will be our 20th year. More than anything else, I just love games. It's a fun place to work. I don't know that you could really ask anybody who's ever played a board game if they enjoyed it. Everyone's going to say yes. Everyone that comes in here, they come in here because they want to play games. You know, it's a joyous place to be.
It's not all easy going though. Lucas has had to compete with new marketplaces and changing demographics.
You've got online, which is a very hard thing to compete against. There's a lot of people selling a lot of the same stuff at a marked down price because they don't have the overheads that you have to run a retail store. So that's obviously a challenge. In recent years, there's been a number of stores that have opened up that have also been a gaming space.
One of these newer stores is Games Laboratory, located in one of Melbourne CBD's laneways, founded by business entrepreneur and games enthusiast James Mackay.
We got to a point where we looked at the situation in Melbourne for organised play for Magic the Gathering, and we felt that there was a better way to do things. And rather than sit on the sidelines and talk about how things could be better, we decided to do something about it.
It wasn't as easy as it sounds for Games Lab either. Their massive growth took them by surprise.
We focused mostly on Magic when we began. We didn't really understand board games at all. We had seating for 64 players, and we very, very quickly outgrew that space. Inside 6 months, we were looking for a new space. We sat 110 at the next space, 160 at the third space, and then inside 2 years, we'd moved 3 times. So at our 4th home, which is where we are now, we've been here for almost 5 years. And we seat 200 players over 3 levels.
So who uses these spaces and what for?
Pathfinder Society played in public at store venues is a little bit different than what you might play at home. In a home game, you're probably more free to make up your own rules, play any sort of character build you like. When you're playing in public though, because different people can come to the table and join your game at any point.
All forms of entertainment, the way we purchase and consume our tabletop games are changing. Alongside traditional storefronts, we now have new methods for buying the games we want. Crowdfunding campaigns to see the games that we want to play, online stores that don't have to pay for premium physical locations, and stores that offer play space and organized tournaments. Mind Games, Games Lab, Games Workshop, Next Level Games, Gatekeeper Games, and Good Games. Melbourne has an unusually dense number of these stores. So what makes Melbourne so perfect for this industry?
Maybe the weather. It's cold, so people are looking for indoor activities.
Melbourne, it suits Melbourne's friendly social atmosphere. We're known for coffee already. We're known for places, little nooks and crannies, little craft bars down alleyways, places that people can go to do neat things. We've got so many festivals, one after the other. Melbourne is a place for having fun with friends. And I think board gaming just, really, really suits that.
Traditional storefronts aren't going anywhere, and it's just wonderful to see people playing games and having fun. Jared Berman, reporting for Swinburne News.
That's all the time we have for tonight. Thanks for joining us. I'm Carl Farah.
And I'm Gemma Rowley. We'll see you next time on Swinburne News.